Good morning. Hello. Welcome back to Microscopy Live. As always, I'm Jen. I'm in the green mask. This is Lorelei. She's in purple today.
We specifically match.
We do match. We've come prepared. We're very organised. High fashion lab. And yeah, welcome to this month's Microscopy Live. We're doing an art themed one. But first of all, last month with the Winchcombe Microscopy Live, we started a monthly quiz based on our observations. And I'm very pleased to announce that the very first winner of the very first Microscopy Live quiz is Spectroscopy from Kent University. She successfully guessed that the minerals we were talking about were chromite. So we will send an email out shortly and organise delivery of your package.
Yeah.
This month's quiz will be based on any observations we make today. And in terms of prizes, as always, we have our gel branded water bottle, the Plymouth Microscopy Centre tote bag. It's actually a really good size. I can get a surprising amount of knitwear in here. And we've got stationery, so our normal brochures. We've got somewhere in here, thank you. We've got branded pencils. We've got a lens cloth. This month we've got an image of, I think it's a tin whisker that Dan produced. And lastly, we've got a special Joel branded sketchbook, which relates very much to the microscope we're using today. Do you want to introduce our little microscope?
Yes, okay. So we are in a different corner of the lab today because we are using our Geo Neoscope, which is basically our benchtop microscope system. So it is very small and we are able to take it places. So portable Microscopy Live at some point, but we're very excited to be showing you this. So
let's go on like a little GoPro adventure.
Yeah, GoPro adventure. So yeah. Compared to the normal size of ones where they're normally like the size of me and this almost the size of a Mini Cooper. This is it. This is like the size of like basically a desktop.
Yeah, it does weigh significantly more though.
It does weigh significantly more, but it is much smaller.
Yeah,
small but mighty. So yeah, we can open the top here, and this is where the beam comes from. So this is the gun we're using. It's got tungsten filament, so that's in there, which will then shoot down, and this is where the chamber is, so we can open that, put the samples in. We can probably do that.
Yeah, you can bend it now.
Let's bend it.
Press the button.
Press the button. Oh, and it's gone quiet.
Yep, it's turbo stopping. So one thing that we find in this lab is as soon as anything turns off and it gets quiet, we all get very antsy because normally that means something's gone wrong. In this case, it just means the turbo stopping and it's filling the chamber there so we can get in.
Get in, yeah. Get the samples in.
Yeah. So we've had this since October, I think. And it's very quickly become a favourite in the lab, just because it is so phenomenally easy for us to use, and it's got full imaging capabilities, full composition analysis capabilities. We can put it on a little trolley and take it places with us.
Yes.
So yeah, we've all kind of fallen in love with it pretty much.
It is a lot of fun.
One of my favourites. And also, we're very, very pleased to announce, as I spoiled on Twitter, that we do actually have a new mascot. We have the first Neoscope plushie in the UK, all the way from Japan. So this is Nanamaru-kun. He does actually match the Neoscope. This is the first of the new generations of the Neoscopes. So we're going to be doing basically like a little Nanamaru-kun adventure. He's going to be going everywhere with us. You'll find him across social media and everywhere. Will I make a dedicated Instagram account for him? I'm probably. Yeah. Yeah, but no. So we're very pleased to have that. We're very pleased to take him everywhere with us. Yeah, so we're going to start loading up. So we've got a range of samples with you today. We're going to do imaging and composition analysis today. Yeah. So we'll go on another second little adventure.
Okay, we'll show you how we load the microscope. Normally the others, this one is very, very quick because it's such a small chamber, whereas the other one normally take a little while to pump down. So we can show you how we do this. So let's open this.
Ta-da! Nice and easy.
Here's the inside. We open it, it's like a drawer.
Yep. So
that's the plate where we're going to put the stage holder. So this is the stage. Shut it in. There is a camera there which will take a picture of it so we can do image registration. So pass me that.
Yeah, so these are our samples. So we've got a couple, it comes in a nice little holder. We know what everything is. It should be quite a fun one. So it just sort of slots in really easy.
Stick it in place. And where is it? Oh yeah, and make sure that there's no dust.
Yeah. So because this microscope sort of holds itself shut, there's no clip, we have to make sure that the O-ring where the door closes is very firmly clean. And we just hold it shut. And
Then
it will sort of suck itself in, and eventually it will. So now we can just let go of it, and it kind of looks after itself.
Yeah.
So let's share the screen, and we'll go into the software side of things.
Yeah.
Ta-da!
So, is this shown?
Yeah.
Yeah, you bet.
Yep. So unlike some of our other systems, the Microscope actually takes a photo of the samples as you put it in, which is so useful.
Yeah. We do have a couple of the systems do this.
Yeah. There's like an automatic feature each time.
Yeah.
It won't not take a photo from what I can tell, which is really handy because we can use this to navigate. So I know which order these are in.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't put it in the order I practiced in, but that's fine.
It's fine. Welcome back.
So you might be able to hear in the background there that whirring sound kicking in. That's the turbo. Basically making sure we've got a good high vacuum in there. So yeah, we can preemptively move it onto the first one.
Also, one of the main advantages of this software, because it is so easy to use, and it's all on this thing, this screen that we have here that you can see, is touchscreen. Yep. So this is all very, very user-friendly. So we might even give you a chance to have a bit of control and the play and to focus up on the microscope.
Yeah, compared to all our other systems, I think it's very. I think anyone could drive this, really.
Yeah.
It's a really, really quick learning curve.
Yeah, great starter, great just to use, great one to really, like, if you know nothing about microscopy, just put you on and you should be an independent user in like 20 minutes or so. Yeah,
like I had a student come in yesterday and within 5 minutes basically showing him where everything was, he was good to go, and he's collected some really, really good data.
Yeah, it's very
powerful. Super, super easy. So what we're doing now is just waiting for the vacuum inside the chamber to get up, to get high enough, so you'll see this will tick round, and eventually it will move itself onto the observation side of things. So this one's actually really good, like it just kind of looks after itself. Yeah, it's just a really relaxing microscope to use. Nothing really seems to go wrong. Oh, as always, you are welcome just to shout at us if you have questions, or you want to look at something, you want to ask something, or you can just put it in the chat. I've got my laptop down in this corner over here.
I've got a chat up over here as well.
So if you do have any questions, just let us know. We'll make sure that we answer everything that we can. Yeah, pretty much. Should be just like a nice little fun one. We'll do imaging and compositional stuff today.
Yeah. Okay, so just like we're at vacuum now, we're just waiting for it to have a new one.
It's quite quiet in screen actually, isn't it?
Yeah.
No, once it gets going, it's pretty quiet.
Yeah.
There we go. Let me move that outwards into the screen. Let's kind of like walk you through the interface a little bit. So we've got all our different purposes at the top, all the different things it can do. So we can just do observation, we can map across an area, or we can do elemental analysis, which we'll do in a little bit later. We have various scan speeds. We can do quick, slow, or sort of map elements live, which is pretty cool. And there's lots of different subsettings. We can take photos. And we've got all the controls for the microscope on this side. So at the moment, we are using secondary electron imaging. So this is using our electron beam, and rather than, and almost just like creating like an image of the topography, so the shape of the sample.
Yeah.
So we're just looking at the sample surface. So all these images will be in grayscale, but they give you like an idea of how these things are shaped. So getting in focus. I just tried the autofocus. It's pretty good.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Like for it, right?
Yeah. So all of the software, all the things to change everything, it's all on the computer screen rather than normally we have like a separate control panel for it all. So it's all on the screen. Everything you need to work with microscope is all here.
What are the benefits of different scan speeds? So the different scan speeds basically just determines how long the beam is spending on each point. So so this is a quick scan speed. Go to the slow one, you'll see how the image becomes much crisper and much clearer.
Yeah.
So that's the difference. Basically,
it's just scanning over for a longer period of time, collecting a better image.
Yeah. And that asks, are these samples coated? 2 of them are coated in gold. The other 2 were already conducted, so we didn't need to.
Yeah.
So these are some paintbrush bristles that I destroyed one of my own paintbrushes for this. So these are synthetic, so they're made out of plastic, which is why we're doing secondary electron imaging rather than compositional data, because it'll just read carbon. What we can do is we can, my favourite thing about this, if I zoom all the way out, it shows you where you are in relation to that picture we took at the start, and then you can just click and drive. And it's so much easier. You can't get lost. in a sample, which is nice.
Yeah, you're just moving around with a mouse, but we can do it on the touch screen as well.
I'm just very much a mouse person.
Yeah.
It's actually pretty decent.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah, because it's all on a stage, and we set the height of the stage as we put it in. We're not having to adjust, move the stage up and down to get the focus. The focus should already be pretty good, just because it's.
Yeah, that's quite nice. You like our first photo. That's probably
20 seconds. Yeah.
This little green bar at the side shows you how far down it is when it's recording images, which is nice. Some microscopes make you guess. This one actually just tells you what it's doing all the time.
Yeah.
But because these are synthetic bristles, they're all sort of pretty uniform, which is what you'd expect. I guess kind of all that pitting is sort of just standard plastic stuff, really, isn't it? Let's go to. I thought I had a microscopy folder.
Is it in your corner?
Oh, I know where I saved it. Some pictures.
Aha.
Very organised. Oh, called 01.
Yeah.
Nice.
Lovely animation there.
I love it. It's really endearing.
Yeah.
So go back to the quick speed. We can zoom out. If anyone would like to have a go driving, just give us a shout and we can give you control for it. It's quite good fun.
Yeah.
So you can just click and drag to drive around. Double click to move. What if I get like the end of a bristle? I cut these with scissors, so it's probably not the neatest job.
Jen's now just clicking on the focus button just to get it in out of focus.
Because we're using a 3D sample, you can focus to different sort of depths of field. So if I wanted like this blob in the back to be in focus, I could do that, but then this thing in the foreground that I'm actually interested wouldn't be in focus. So there's a little bit of sort of like trial and error sometimes. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
And if we slow it down, it should be nice and crisp.
I don't know, ruler and see what that size is. So,
Sorry?
measure.
Oh.
It's like using all the features.
Oh no. 37.65 microns, that's what, 0.003? 003 of a millimeter.
Yeah. Small.
Given how often I have to work in microns, I'm actually really bad at just sort of remembering what the scaling factors are. Yeah, that's super tiny actually, but I guess that's where I've sort of like cut through the bristle with scissors. Yeah, that's kind of cool. Like that one. Yeah. There's a couple of different options with taking photos on the Neoscope as well. So you can actually generate some really, really big, high-resolution images, which I've got like little sneaky plans for to make banners and posters.
Yeah.
Let's make that going. So the thing I find easiest on the Neoscope is actually just being able to like sort of spin the image around as well. Where have we gone? That's my zero mag on. But yeah, it's just super easy to drive and like super easy to use, and I just really enjoy it. Given a choice, I will always try and use a Neoscope just for like quick imaging. If I want to just double check something quickly or see how well something's compared, it's really good for that.
Field, or does it need a steady-based clean environment?
So the goal is to actually take the Neoscope with us to places. So in April and June, we're taking it to a couple of different sort of workshop events. And there are some things like, would I want to put this in the middle of the field and run it? Probably not.
No.
Could it be done? Technically, yes.
Yeah.
If we had a generator.
Yeah, it just needs a normal plug socket, and it is quite heavy and it does need to be stable with not much vibration, otherwise that will mess up with the image.
I wonder if I zoom all the way in, I might be able to like see some of the jiggle.
Oh, what was I doing the other day? I literally just whacked my hand
Oh
on the
yeah, if you like, there you go. So if I just like thump the desk slightly, you can kind of see how the image fluctuates. So the more stable and as little vibrations we can get as possible is better, and that's the same with all our instruments.
Yeah.
So some of the big ones can be on like isolated concrete blocks. They can be on like dedicated sort of spongy mats to minimize vibrations. Because when you're looking at things that are really, really small, the slightest sort of like movement is actually amplified hugely, and it can be really hard sometimes to sort of counteract that.
Yeah. It's not just vibrations that cause image distortion. We can have electrical fields and magnetic fields can also cause issues.
So the first thing that we learned with the Neoscope is that if for whatever reason the image looks a bit fuzzy, just take your hands off the table and that normally fixes it. I wonder if that's like two that haven't quite separated out properly. They're twisty and sort of like
yeah, they're kind of melting together.
This is what happens when you buy cheap brushes from Wacom. Thank you. Should we bounce on to the next sample?
Yeah. That.
So we're still doing secondary electron imaging, as we call that here.
Yeah.
So this is a selection of chalk that Lorelei has very kindly ground up for us.
Yeah.
It is in different colours.
There are 3 different colours.
It's nice actually to see what the colours are. So we've got a blue one down
the
here.
coating would have scraped off slightly, so
Let's see what it's like.
We got a difference of why you coat certain samples.
Yeah.
Because they showed hopefully be a good.
Yeah. Could we throw that scan speed down?
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll see some charging effects. It's actually not too bad. Oh, there you go.
It's starting to increase in brightness.
So the reason we coat our samples is to make them conductive. So basically when the electron beam comes down and hits the sample, those electrons have somewhere to go. If they don't, they can sort of build up in an area. So you see like these, like this white splotch and like this kind of like mottley thing that's going on here. So it's not a very stable image. Sometimes it can make your image move. It can like make it drift somewhere else. So we try to minimize charging as much as we can. The Neoscope does have a mode where you can put uncoated samples in. You don't get the secondary electron imaging at that point, but there's other sorts of imaging that you can do to kind of like mitigate it and get kind of the same effect.
Electrical charge compensation.
Yeah. Which is really cool, actually. It makes it much more versatile. This is much more sort of like hay-like than I thought it would be.
Yeah, so I originally decided to do chalk because when you think of chalk, you think of the white cliffs of Dover, and that is entirely coprolithophores. So if you turned up to our event in November, we spent a lot of time looking at those. And this was my vain hope that maybe, oh, this is chalk, maybe there's coprolithophores in it.
I'm doing the autofocus.
We're doing autofocus.
One issue I have is that I can't wear my glasses with a mask on, which also means what I think is in focus may not actually be in focus. But the Neoscope seems to look after itself pretty well for that sort of stuff. Yeah, I don't do too badly.
No,
but like, sometimes I do get it very wrong. See how that goes. It's very platy, it's not like...
Yeah, there you go. Those lines there, that's the charging. So it's where the electrons aren't able to dissipate out across the surface, just build up and
you can see how the picture behind it sort of moves as well.
Yeah. Pauses.
Oh, we could like risk a photo.
Yeah, you could risk a photo.
Probably
Probably do some elements analysis on this as well.
Yeah. That's not terrible, actually.
No, that's pretty good. I like how angular all of this is.
Yeah, I expected it to kind of be sort of like, well, powder. I mean, it is a powder.
It is a powder, yeah.
Yeah, it seem to be like a smooth one rather than like sort of like a plate.
Yeah, it is.
Soon find like a little bit.
Yeah.
Let's go back to the image. Where is coated?
So whilst Jen's doing this, I'm going to ask again, would anybody else like to have a go at controlling?
It's very easy. You just click and drag.
Easy. We will walk everything through with you as well, if you want to.
Bring that into focus. Ooh, too far.
Oh, somebody would like it.
Oh, happy days. Ooh.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
So it's Elaine. There you go. So we've now given you control of our screen. So if you're using a mouse, you should be able to move your mouse and you should have control of it. Yeah, see you moving.
Cool. There's a little bit of a lag simplification with it.
Yeah.
To go to slow, you can change the scan speed down without making a much crisper image, which should be largely in focus, actually, I think.
Yeah.
I just didn't expect it to be sort of like so platy and sort of like.
Yeah, I just was not expecting this at all.
Cool,
so yeah, you're on a slow scan speed.
Yeah.
So you're moving that will adjust the focus slightly. So the double arrows means it's doing it in course, so it will adjust the focus very, very quickly, whereas the smaller arrows will do it much finer.
Oh, yeah. Okay. As if you get stuck, hit the big A button and it'll do an autofocus. Which I do quite a lot actually.
Yeah. It's a great one to just get it going. It's normally pretty good, but if it's
Yeah.
not, you can try and adjust it as well.
Yeah, like it normally gets you in the right ballpark. If it doesn't, just do it again, and that seems to fix it.
Yeah, the running autofocus does take a little bit of time.
Yeah. So you can see in the top left corner, there you go, top left corner, it tells you what it's doing. So when it's running autofocus or doing the auto stigs, it has a little pop-up there that lets you know it is doing something. So you should be able to click and drag around the screen, and that should move as well.
And if you're using a mouse, if you use the mouse scrolling wheel, that will zoom in and out for you.
So if you want the picture to load in faster, you can use the quick scan speed, and you can use the ultra quick scan speed. Yep, so just hit click. So it drops the image quality a little bit, but the image loads faster. And then once we find something that you're interested in, we can slow it down and we can take a photo of it. I just love this machine so much. It's so good.
I mean, I love all the machines. They're all great in their own different ways. Yeah. They're all designed for different things.
Like the good all-rounder.
Yeah.
Like a friendly, easy-to-use one.
We only have one screen, which makes doing Microscopy Live a lot easier because we have to look at 7 different screens.
Trying to work out which computer we can plug what into.
Yeah.
Just a good little box, isn't it?
Yeah.
I wonder how much I have to process the chalk to not have any particles in it. But it must be really fine.
Yeah, or maybe it's synthetic.
Oh, true, true.
I mean, this is chalk from the Early Learning Centre.
Ah, well.
Because it was a birthday gift to go with a chalkboard that my friend got me.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah. But Early Learning Centre, so like, you're 18, have something to remind you.
I'm sure we could do like a comparison work there, actually. Like synthetic versus natural stuff.
Like, yeah. I know it's charging, but that image actually looks quite cool.
That's pretty good. It's not too chargy.
No,
could you do us a favour, Elaine? Could you hit the camera button, please? Thank you very much.
There you go. Taking a photo.
All the grain sizes are pretty consistent.
Yeah. I don't know what I was expecting with chalk. It's just not this.
Yeah. No, this is it. All right, cool. And you can just hit the cancel button at the bottom of the screen, and that'll take you back to your live observations. Just in the bottom right of the picture.
Where it's blue.
Yep.
Okay.
And that makes the image live again. So it's quite handy that once you take a photo, you can't change anything.
Yeah. Most of the microscopes we use do that. They freeze it all.
Yeah. Art chalk is not made of calcium carbonate. Modern chalk is made mostly of gypsum. I'll now explain it.
No, coconut was
yeah.
Thank you,
Dawn. When you zoom in, does it move anything closer to the sample, or does it do the zooming electronically? I think this one there's no working distance, is there? Well, there is a working distance. It's no physical.
When you're zooming in, it's electronic zooming in. You're not actually adjusting the height of anything. Because, yeah.
How are the different colours of chalk different? Well, I'm sure we could find out. If you zoom all the way out, Elaine, so we're in the blue chalk at the moment.
Yeah, so there's...
have a look at the red, or is it white?
It's white at the top, yeah.
I don't think we've looked at the white chalk yet.
Yeah.
So if you just double click, it should move itself over there. And then if you zoom all the way back in again. guess it'll just be a pigment that they're changing.
Pigments, yeah. I did some tests and I couldn't see. But
They're synthetic pigments, so I don't know what they're made out of.
I don't know.
All I know is that white is titanium dioxide.
I suppose we could do some EDS and see if there's any titanium in this.
Yeah. So one other thing we can do is on that big wheel where you've got your focus and you're focusing, there's a button for brightness. If you pop down and click that one, there's an auto button there and it'll just adjust the contrast brightness.
Yeah, that bit.
There you go. And just hit the auto button, select capital A, and that will sort of mitigate some of this sort of like oversaturation for white. It's a bit better. This helps you pull out some of the details. Sorry, I nearly dropped Nana Moroccan off the side of the desk. I'm not sure I'd emotionally recover from that.
It's quite top heavy. But yeah, it's stable now. So,
we're about halfway through. Should we move on to EDS?
yes. Ooh, we should, yeah.
Okay. So Elaine, if you want to find something to take a final photo of, and then we'll take control again, and we'll introduce you to our next technique. Or just give us a shout out when you're done driving. Oh, you're more than welcome. Right. We shall take back control. So this has all been secondary electron imaging, so we're looking at the surface. So we can start on some chalk, I guess.
Yeah. Should show you what it's made of.
Yeah. So another technique that we can do is energy disperses spectroscopy, which if you cast your mind back, actually last week we did some on Winchcombe and we started off with EDS. So we pop down into element analysis. I've got the zoom window over all the things I need.
Yeah, and then click off the manual. I spent 20 minutes trying to find it
I always
yesterday
forget.
because I forgot.
Yeah. So just move the zooms out of the way. There we go.
There we go.
Move Nana Moroccan out of the way. I'll just hold them. If you're like to drive.
Okay. What should we do?
So we've got this sort of spectra popping in at the bottom of the screen here. So we've got this big gold spike. That's because we've coated it in gold. We've also got oxygen, carbon. So what's happening here is the electron beam is exciting elements or atoms in the sample surface and just below the sample surface.
It's just in a large area.
As those atoms get excited, electrons can move between different shells in the atom structure and they release energy in that process. The EDS detector picks up that energy and reconstructs it back into what elements it is, but also where they've come from. So we can tell you at a given point or across an area how much of each element is there. So it's a really cool little technique. It's relying on all manner of things, and honestly, it's a really clever bit of software that can work it out.
Yeah. So it's mainly going to pick up gold just because it is coated in gold. So
that sulfur peak, it is gypsum. It's gypsum sulfur bearing.
Yeah. It was sulfur and it was picking up carb.
Yeah.
And calcium as well yesterday.
Guess what kind of it is. If it's such a strong gold spike as well.
Yeah.
And then it saves all the info and it puts back in eco mode, which is just like
standby almost.
Yeah, it's just like a safe mode. It sort of reduces the energy consumption a little bit. Very chargy.
Yeah.
That's kind of a brief introduction to EDS, but we can probably make it slightly more obvious. Oh, which one did I put these in?
Yeah, which one of which? I suppose just to
we'll
challenge
find out.
Yeah.
So I have some real gold leaf and some fake gold leaf.
So one of them is definitely gold and one of them is whatever generic gold leaf.
What the other one is made out of.
Yeah.
It's a very cheap one I got off Amazon.
See
if
the cheap one is actually gold.
So we're in secondary electron imaging still, which is why this looks very, very boring because it's flat and it's a very, very thin layer of gold that's sort of like squished. Thank you. Squished on top. What it looks like in backscatter actually. So probably very boring actually.
Probably quite bright.
Let's see. So backscatter electron imaging. Oh, yeah, very bright. So backscatter electron imaging works very well in conjunction with EDS, like composition analysis. So what it does is it creates a grayscale image that isn't based on topography, it bases it on the atomic number contrast. So it's effectively like a density map. So this will actually be a very boring backscatter image just because it's all the same thing. But you can kind of see like how it's a different sort of grayscale. There's like a couple of little spikes and things. It's not very interesting, but we'll keep it in secondary for now. But if we have samples where there's lots of different minerals or lots of different compositions in it, that can be backscatter BSC to be really useful for that. Yeah, let's find out what this is made from. Where are we?
Yes.
I always get lost in here.
What are you? Yes.
Just do it.
Yeah.
Put a big square on it. Go.
Just taking a picture.
I should be running. I haven't done actually a
Oh,
huge
yeah.
amount of
Yeah, it does take pictures.
EDS.
Yeah.
This one is actually gold.
Cool.
So the other one was the fake gold leaf.
Carbon, it's probably picking up carbon. Just
It's stuck on a carbon tab.
Yeah.
So gold leaf itself is really, really thin. But what I've done to get it to stick down is I've used kind of like a double-sided sticky tape that's made in carbon, because carbon's conductive as well. Yeah, predominantly gold, 97.
Oh, yeah. No.
It's working something out. Yeah, that seems pretty happy with it.
Yeah.
So what we can do is we can zoom in onto the spectrum as well. So, can do.
There we go.
So this is sort of like the spectrum is generated by individual elements. So it's using this to kind of work out what's there. There's a number of different peaks. Those are based on different energies being released by the sample. So gold can release different energies. It's kind of cool, really, actually. And that's nice. Nice.
Very obviously gold.
It's a relief.
I'm like,
It'd be a shame if I bought 2 bits that weren't actually gold.
I like it, just all of the cracks and all the wrinkles on this.
Line spectrum, I see.
Yeah, just do live.
Zoom in. I would just like find like a fun little like crunchy bit to like image in. It's just nice to hold actually, isn't it? Also stick also kind of get all things. What are the practical applications of elemental analysis? In terms of industry, we can do it for
Quality control.
quality control. If you're looking for contamination in something,
Or just figuring out if you say you've ordered a whole bulk of a specific type of steel and it's not behaving in the right way, you can check it and check if it's actually the kind of steel that it is, or if something's failing, why is it failing? Is the composition different?
Yeah. In terms of research purposes, we can use it to work out exactly what we're looking at, where we're looking at. So we're both geologists, so from our point of view, we can use it to look at mineral compositions, and we can use that to understand the history of rocks. Or say if we're working with a mining company, they're looking for a certain element, they want to see how much of that is available there, how sort of useful things would be to mine. We can do that sort of stuff very quickly. We also just make very nice pictures out of it, which is my favorite thing to do.
Yeah.
So we can map across a sample and do element analysis across an area, and that will combine images to give you a nice little colorful picture of where all your different elements are. None of these samples are particularly good for that because it will just be a yellow blob of gold, unfortunately. We could see. Oh, we could do it actually. If we did like a little map over like the edge, we could show you the difference between them. Clearly, I dropped it. I think that's actually where I pressed it in as the bit of my fingerprint. Find like a fun bit that's like. So what we can do is then go to map analysis, so rather than just element analysis.
Yeah, it's going to map the entire area.
Yeah. So what we'll do is going to scan through a couple of times and pick up elements in different places. So this one will be quite a boring map, but it will be a map.
Well, it will show the difference between the
Yeah. There's a couple of different options that we can do with the mapping stage. That's just like a quick preliminary one. This will do. We can drag it out longer. We can sort of tell it which elements we're looking for. But you'll see as it sort of starts to populate, these two bits will be very different colors to each other. So you can kind of see this sort of like, it is technically blue, but it's under a yellow sort of square. You can see how this gold is coming in a different color for the carbon tape it's stuck on. So I've got one of our other staff members in the background taking photos of that. Yeah, that's something actually. So we're writing a fun little article for an In Focus magazine, which is the Royal
Microscopy.
Microscopy.
Both of us struggling with this word here. Microscopy society? Microscopal society.
Yeah.
There we go.
I just get stuck in that
I just
word.
can't say the word microscopy.
Yeah. Yeah, so we're doing a dedicated little article about Microscopy Live, which we're very excited about.
Yeah.
I think aiming for the summer edition. It'll be
Yeah.
fun. But we'll let you know as and when that gets published.
Yeah.
It's
all very exciting.
One thing I like about this is I actually told you how long it has left, which I really appreciate.
Yeah.
Sometimes
Countdown.
yeah. And then what we can do with the maps at a later point is we can export all the different elements. We can export them as I'll tell them now.
Yeah, just don't want to say it
As
right.
individual things. And my absolute favourite thing is freeze that guy. If I zoom out, it then tells me where I've made a map, which I really appreciate.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, yeah, if you have a really complicated sample and you found a really interesting thing, sometimes it'd be really hard to find it again. Let's
Go back up to the.
So this is real gold. So you can see we've got the live spectra running across here. We've got that big gold peak that drops up here. So go to the fake one, see what it is. Copper.
Nice.
Oh, my tank silver was made out of them. Maybe I'll investigate that in my own little fun time.
Yeah.
Very different texture though, much more crinkly.
Yeah.
Sorry, Lorelei's trying to get her gloves back on.
Yeah. It's spicy.
Yeah, this is just a cheeky imitation gold leaf that I picked up from Amazon because I do resin crafts because I like making stuff. Yeah, I was interested what it was made out of. It seemed far too cheap for actual gold. I was wondering, is it a plastic? Like, what do they make it out of? Turns out copper.
Yeah.
That's quite handy. Let's do.
I don't think.
I guess
I mean,
makes
copper
sense.
just it's a very different colour in my head.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's close enough. Like they are different colours from each other.
That must be, yeah, close enough.
I guess once you beat it thin enough.
Yeah. So.
I wonder if you can like mix different like cheap metals together to make different colours.
Different colours. Yeah.
But that's pretty happy that it is just copper actually. So that's a nice easy one.
Carbon, oxygen.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Carbon's got oxygen in it, and it's on carbon tape.
Yeah.
So when we're doing EDS analysis, we're actually looking at electrons and energies being released from just under the sample surface. So it's something we have to worry about called an interaction volume. So the beam is putting a lot of energy into the sample. The more power you put into that, the bigger an area it's affecting. So that can mean if you're looking at something that's really, really small, you have to use sort of special conditions to make sure you are only looking at that and only getting data for that. If you're sort of like hammering a sample with a huge electron beam with a huge amount of current, you can generate quite like a big interaction volume and you can pick up stuff from underneath. And it's sort of, depending on what you're looking for, it's fine sometimes it's not. So I think that carbon peak is probably just the start of like the carbon tape underneath this because it is very, very thin.
Yeah.
What we're going to do now is, because we've got 20 minutes left, and I want to make sure we actually finish on time for a change. Yeah, they are different colours.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do is we're going to vent the chamber and change sample over.
Yeah.
Venting the escape is super easy. You just hit vent and tell it yes, and it looks after itself.
And it goes quiet.
It goes very quiet.
Turbo pump stop.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys can hear actually like the difference in sound that it makes. I think I've got Zoom set up to like disregard some background noise. Yeah, it's always fun in the lab when something stops.
Somebody using it, or is it do we need to check?
Yeah.
But it's okay.
So
Normally it's somebody using it.
Stop that.
Yeah.
We'll share screen in a minute. I was going to make you watch Lorelei change sample over.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, basically just see that it's actually super easy. So events, it's going to load this. So as it vents down, it will eventually have a little light on, it will hiss, and it will pop open.
Give it a couple more seconds.
And it will open its door when it's ready.
Yeah. go. Let me just.
So the next sample we have for you is actually top of a pencil that I hacked off. We thought it could be like a fun little one for like some 3D imaging.
Cool.
So unlike our other systems where we basically sort of put them into the microscope and they're in a big chamber, we don't have to worry too much about, we don't have to worry too much about how high the sample is in relation to the sample holder. We can set that ourselves. This guy, we have to make sure that the sample isn't higher than the top of the sample holder. So we can't make it higher than this bit of metal, otherwise the door will not close.
Yeah, because we don't adjust the stage height.
Yeah.
So, okay.
We'll pop it back in.
And then
We'll do. Make sure that it's nice and clean. Then making sure that it. Cool. I'll just hold it shut and it will start drawing air out again.
Yep.
Like I said earlier, making sure that the O-ring is really clean is an important thing for us. Also, she's let go too early, which I'm really bad at doing. But it'll let you know when it's saying. Eventually, you'll hear the turbo kick in. We can. Hey, go back to our software. So this is actually one of our PMC branded pencils that I took a saw to, which is perfectly normal thing to do in this lab actually. Because I thought it'd be fun. So we've got sort of like the bit where you get like the polished wood on this side, sort of the sharpened wood, and then the pencil lead. I just like it to be a fun one.
yeah, let's have a look.
Start this side and work across.
Yep.
Turbo going?
Yep.
Sounds a little bit like a plane taking off sometimes.
Does.
Just wait for it to go, really. Stage right place. So although the sample isn't moving up and down in the microscope, it is moving side to side and front and back. It just doesn't go up and down. So it means it's actually quite a safe microscope to let people use.
Yeah, they're not going to accidentally move the stage, or one of us accidentally move the stage.
Yeah.
Up into the column.
Yeah.
Which is bad. It's never happened. I've never, don't think I've done that.
No, I'm still holding on to my record of not losing a sample inside the microscope, but I've come very close.
I lost one in 4 months.
I think that's pretty impressive.
Yeah. Yeah, we didn't get a chance to get it.
Yeah.
Just waiting for it to get.
Yeah.
But it got fixed and we got it back, and it's great, glorious, and
They can't really do that in this one.
no.
It's not designed to let you do it.
Yeah.
Which is one of the reasons why we're looking forward to taking it out with us places. So we're going to a business innovation event in Cornwall in a couple of weeks. We've got some other sort of like big funding group stuff.
Yeah.
Royal Society Summer Exhibition.
Yeah.
All sorts.
Yeah, we have big plans for Microscopy
We do.
to bring it on tour places. To try and
Microscopy Live Roadshow.
Yeah,
it's the
go
goal.
to schools and everything, just to make it more accessible for people.
Yeah.
Because we understand that not everybody can get access to the internet or good internet to be able to do this, and obviously we do it at a very weird time.
Yeah, it's the time of day that works for us, and we do our best by making sure that everything is recorded. But still, we would like to do it in person, and also just let other people drive, let people have a go with it. Yeah, like the whole user interface is designed more like an app more than anything. So it's just remarkably straightforward to use.
Okay, and we are
Nice. It's looking like the bit that I actually sawed. Cool. So we're in secondary electron imaging again now. So again, we're just looking at the sample surface. You can get that in focus. Oh, too far. Right. Hey, lab. I don't want to zoom all the way in. How far can we go to still get like half a decent image? Horrible flashbacks to that Christmas one where I was looking at clothes.
Oh, the clothes, yeah. Yeah, I was
Too far. Wow, that's a bit drifty.
So
when we spoke about charging earlier, I said that sometimes the image can move. So that's what's happening here. So because trying to coat a 3D sample is actually really hard, and you don't always get it in all the crevices, because it's like quite a messy little bit. So you can kind of see how I'm not driving anything, but the image is drifting north. So we'll just look at something else, which is the easiest way to fix charging. And again, you can kind of see like the little like flashy bits at the bottom there. It is actually like pretty smooth across, though, isn't it? That's remarkably featureless. So I guess
you got some of the, you can see some of the grain.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to try. I'm trying to focus on like a round thing, so it's going to be a challenge.
And start seeing more of that woody structure.
Yeah. This is like where it's starting to be sharpened. You can zoom all the way out. This is where sort of that pencil sharpness has gone through, which is kind of cool, actually.
Yeah.
Because this is a round sample, there's going to be some difference between the focus at the top of the image versus the middle of the image versus the bottom of the image.
So they're all slightly different heights.
Yeah. Let's go back to SEM ops. That'll help. Take both of that one. So just my own thing. That's quite nice.
I made it.
All this like little network through here is quite cool. Could zoom in and have a proper look at that, couldn't you?
Yeah, rather than us moving closer to the screen.
Yeah. It's just my immediate reaction though. It's like I will lean in rather than zooming in the microscope, which can go to like 100,000 times. Yeah, so the scope can magnify up to 100,000 times, which is pretty substantial for such a little box. Most things we look at don't need to be imaged at that sort of height magnification.
Yeah. Okay, we got another question. If you did the element analysis, would it show what was in the paint on the pencil or flats that the lead is made of?
It'll show the lead. This is an unpainted pencil, unfortunately.
Probably showed that I think it was coated. It looked like it might have been coated.
Let's see. So like most, so it is coated. So there is that big gold peak. Most organic stuff just reads as carbon and oxygen, because that's what we're made from. So unfortunately, doing composition analysis on biological stuff isn't always hugely useful. So some of the guys in the lab who work on biological material, they will sort of embed heavier elements so they can find things again.
And obviously the pencil lead will be made of graphite, which is also carbon, so...
Yeah, so they'll be very strong carbon peak.
Yeah.
It doesn't sharpen very evenly, actually. You've got like this huge back thing wrong. That's like the next sort of ring of wood, maybe?
Maybe.
I can't tell if that's in focus or not. I've got my glasses on.
No, it's not too bad. I think just because it's at an angle, so it's going to go out of focus.
True, very true.
Yeah, so this bit's fine.
Yeah.
But it slowly goes out, but that's because it's at an angle.
So we'll just drive across slowly. You can find like a fun bit. Yeah, I did try to wedge up.
Yeah. It's just the nature of working with non-flat samples.
Yeah. So
lots of focusing, you get very good at it very quickly.
Yeah. So in the geoscience world, we tend to take our rocks, polish them flat, like really flat, and then do our analysis. So I would definitely have less practice at secondary electron imaging than I do EDS. Oh, you can show me that. I'm not sure I told it was wood. Definitely plant-like.
Plant, something, yeah. I suppose we're not biologists.
I just don't tend to spend a lot of my time looking at sort of pencil sharpenings, to be honest. That's probably it. You can find like all that. So this big blob in the background is some sticky carbon blue tack, effectively.
Well, what's that fear with lots of tiny holes? This is probably not.
Trypophobia?
Yeah, probably not great.
Yeah, I should put a warning. Sorry about that.
No, it's.
That's the edge of the pencil.
That's the graphite.
Yeah. Okay. So now we get a much bigger carbon. It's find like a nice bit to get in focus. Zoom in. Just do that. It'd be much easier. That's one.
That was pretty good.
Nice. Nice. Very smooth, isn't it?
Yeah.
We could do like a little like element square on the ledge just to see.
Yeah.
Sounds like a boring bit. Okay, it's all photo.
Yeah, it's a
It won't be quantitative, but it'll be good enough. So EDS is kind of like a sweet point based on where the detector is, where your sample is, helps it sort of like generate good data. You can collect data at other sort of like heights and configurations. It's just not quite as good. So that's all about warning with theirs because we're looking at a sample that isn't flat and isn't at the right height. It's worried that it won't be able to like generate good quality data. But for this, it's completely fine. So we've got carbon, oxygen, and gold. So that gold is the coating we put on to make it conductive, and that carbon is graphite in the lead. Really.
Yeah.
Try and find like the actual like peak with pencil. Not quite as sharp as I thought it was. Like, how white is this?
Oh, those are the still the ones.
Oh, yeah.
Delete them. Oh,
I'm just like a peasant and I do it one by one.
yeah, that's okay. That's an angle tool.
Oh, yeah, it's really useful.
That's cool.
What's that? 525, so
Half a millimeter.
half mil?
Yeah, half a
I mean, I guess if I was like to be poked with that, I would definitely feel it.
That would hurt.
I would notice.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can get it in focus. That might not be a bad one to leave it on. Just try and like jiggle the pencil around a little bit actually at some point and get like some different angles.
Yeah.
Fun. So if anyone has any final minute questions, let us know. If not, we'll probably start winding down here actually and make sure we actually finish on time for a change because I get too excited about stuff, so I just keep going. Next month is the last Friday of April, which I want to say is
the 29th.
Was it 29th?
Yes.
11 to 12 as normal. Next time we're doing pollen. We're having like a nice little springtime themed one with the official start of spring. So we've been raiding our friends' gardens, we've been raiding the parks in town to get as many different types of pollen as we can. So far we've got crocus, lilies, daffodils, soon have some cherry blossom. I'm pulling some flowers off of my bonsai trees to get like some tree pollen.
I think daisies will start out soon. We'll probably get daisies and dandelions.
Yeah, buttercups.
Buttercups.
So it should be quite a nice little one.
See the difference between all these different types of pollen.
As always, we will be sending around the recording and a summary booklet of everything that we looked at today, later today probably. And there'll also be a link to the quiz. And as a reminder, we've got John water bottle, PMC bag, PMC pencils, PMC notebook, lens cloth,
sketchbook,
gel sketchbook, which is one of the Neoscope gel sketchbooks. And yeah, and as always, we will announce the winner at the April one.
Yes.
But for now, if anyone's got any final minute questions or any last minute things people want to see, we'll sort of like drive around for a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
I suppose we could show everyone unloading and turning off as well.
Yeah, we could do that. Let's just.
Oh, you're not welcome, mine. Glad you had a nice time driving around.
I think we'll do quite a few more on this one, so
yeah,
we'll try and get everybody.
Yeah. It's very smooth.
I want to say it must be coated in like a varnish or something.
I think it is varnish because they're quite smooth. I should check somewhere.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, slightly varnished. Maybe that's it.
Yeah.
Cool. So what Lorelai's going to do now is she's going to bend the microscope, take the sample out, and we'll show you basically how easy it is to turn off.
Yeah.
I will.
But if you need to leave, you're welcome to leave as well. And we have reached the end.
No, I'll just make you look at us now.
Yeah.
I'm not American.
He's so cute.
I love him so much. Yeah, so thank you. As always, we are sponsored or working in partnership with Joel UK, which is why we've got a little non-American.
Yeah.
We're really, really grateful. Thank you so much for all our support. And yeah, we'll be here for a couple of minutes to answer any last minute questions. And if not, hopefully we'll see you all at the next one. I think it's going to be good fun. I've done a couple of little test runs on some pollen originally so that I know what I'm doing.
Yeah. Oh, it's funky. They all look very different.
They do. They look really weird.
It's just very cool.
Yeah.
But all of these sessions are, so.
Yeah. And we'll do like the final watch Lorelei take stuff out of the microscope bit. Because it's just so easy to do.
So, there we go.
Let's twist and lots.
And then
That's kind of it, really.
close it.
Yep.
Let it evac, and then everything just gets shut down.
Yep.
Oh. Probably just need to just it.
Yep.
Yeah. That's. Oh, is it?
There we go.
There we go. Try again. Yeah, there we go.
Hope it is. I somehow managed to get all the cables all across the desk all at the same time. Cool, but that's 12 o'clock. Thank you very much for joining us. We shall see you next time. We'll see you next time. Well, the 29th of April.
29th, yes.
29th of April, pollen and maybe a bee. If I can find a nice angle for it. Thank you very much for joining us. I'll see you next time. Bye.